Okay, so we're back. Here's a reading lesson. Again, if you have any questions, here are two of our email addresses at the bottom. Okay, so let's begin. Question 1. The Republicans and the Democrats are alike. Both candidates need large amounts of money to run. Regardless of political party, the candidates tend to be affluent and often very wealthy. Therefore, they cannot see the perspective of the common person. The Republicans represent an elite group. The Democrats represent the people. Remember, demos means of the people. Yes, but a republic is a public thing. The Latin word publica means public. A democracy and a republic are the same. Then why does one party push for higher taxation than for the wealthy? When you read this, you have to take this question. This is also kind of a question found on the LSAT. For those of you that are out of the country, this is our version of the law school admissions test. But it's also what a lot of the SATs do. And they go back and they review, they do circular reasoning. Now, when you come up and look at what Terrence did, he came up and said from the beginning Republicans and Democrats are alike. And then Sally kind of brings a contrast, and she says the Republicans represent an elite group. Okay? So she kind of counterposes him, and she doesn't say, that's not true, no way. She just kind of says the Republicans represent an elite group. Like, what are you talking about? And then she says the Democrats represent the people. Demos means of the people. So she's trying to make this distinction. Now, here's the situation. Terrence comes back and says a republic is a public thing. The word publica means public. So therefore, he says a democracy and a republic are the same. And didn't he say they can't see the perspective of the common person? And I'm going to go ahead and highlight this. The candidates tend to be affluent and very wealthy regardless of political party. So Terrence has kind of stayed the same, and Terrence is not kind of, but he has stayed, and he said parties are the same. So it is Sally who turns around and asks him, then why does one party push higher taxation for the wealthy? And her question is something she's kind of not understanding about what the two are saying. So she doesn't understand, or she's pretending not to understand. She says, she's kind of saying has to be a difference. So that's where they disagree. Okay? All right, there must be a difference. And if you guys want to save time and stop playing around like I am, we're just going to write a big one word. We're going to write here difference. Okay? There's a difference. And you write the words here. And here they go. Terrence is saying same. And Sally is saying there's a difference. So now the first question asks you, Sally and Terrence disagree. Disagree means there's a difference on which of the following principles. They disagree that Republican and Democrat candidates run for office in the same manner. They disagree that a person needs to be affluent to run for office. Or they disagree that both parties represent the same concepts. Or they disagree that one party pushes for higher taxation than the other. I'm going to go bottom up. Okay, D, neither candidate got into that they disagree that one party pushes for higher taxation than the others. The only one who did was Sally. So since she got into this, there cannot be this concept, because if you go back and look, the whole question simulation ends with Sally saying they push for higher taxation. Nowhere up here do you see anything about higher taxation. He just says they tend to be affluent and very wealthy. He's not going to that level. Okay, so then next thing is here is they disagree that both parties represent the same concepts. That's a possibility, because here he says, the Democrats represent the people. Remember Demos? She says, yeah, but it's a public. And then if Sally, hadn't said this here and made this distinction about concepts, and look at how the language is being played around in here. Same concepts. Terrence said they were the same, and it was Sally who said they were different. So that's a possibility. Let's go to B. They disagree that a person needs to be affluent to run for office. They never brought that up. He just brought this as like an example that most of them are wealthy and affluent. They can't see things the way that most people see things. And I started to say our because there's an interesting article that America's middle class is gone. But they, so B's out. They disagree that the Republican and Democratic candidates run for office in the same manner. Never got into that. Just got into they need large amounts of money to run. And she never countered it. Okay, so Sally didn't say anything. Okay, then you can't say she disagrees because she didn't agree or disagree. That's the other thing. And the same thing here, she never even got into how much money is needed. She just talked about they both kind of represent the same thing. So C is our best choice. And that's pretty much that's an easy one. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Okay, so number 3, Terrence would most likely write an article on which of the subjects. So first choice is democracy and its failures. Maybe, but he kind of talks about both the Republicans and the Democrats. And then he goes over here, and you have to tie this together. They need large amounts of money. They tend to be affluent and very wealthy. And once again, he's keeping everything the same as far as that's concerned. So he writes about the sameness, the similarities, of everything. And that's kind of what you need to look for. Something that represents sameness, unification, okay? You know what, that's not unification of people, so I'm going to take that out. Okay, wealth and domination. So he says they're often very wealthy. They cannot see the perspective of the common person. I mean, that's really his conclusion. This is his premise, and his conclusion is pretty much that they can't see, because they both are alike, they can't see the perspective of the common person. So this is a possibility. Democracy and oligarchies, let's cross this out, because oligarchies means a few rule, and that would mean wealth. But he did not label that term. He said wealth. And he also talked about and these are those very close comparison questions that cause people to look at things differently. But he kind of went the same, like he said, a republic is a public thing, and a democracy and a republic are the same. And he's really kind of saying that they're the same. And he didn't really call democracy a failure when you think about it. So when we go back up here, we have to look at this word. Aristotle and politics. Aristotle wrote several books about how you're supposed to represent the people in this, but this is like what you call too broad, because now you're bringing up, the ancient Greeks and from where this comes. And that's way too broad. So it's way too broad. And so now we're here, wealth and domination, democracy and its failures. Did he come right out and say democracy is a failure? Or did he kind of level it and say Democrats and Republicans are the same? So again, this is too broad. And once you do the process of elimination, you already have over here your only possibility, which is B. Okay? So thanks for watching.